Hey y'all, and welcome to the Stivers Uncensored. That's kind of weird saying that. So this is a brand new channel, and this channel is all about marriage, love, life, marriage stories, explaining the background of us, hoping to connect with you all. We have this very easy saying that we kind of had behind this entire channel, and it's normal people, better marriage.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that could be taken a lot of different ways, but I guess our goal in this is when we have been through our highest of highs and our lowest of lows, sometimes it's hard to find other people to relate to, other marriages. When you're at a low, you're kind of looking at everyone else and seeing that they're on a high. And when you're on a high, you're like, well, I don't have anybody to express that to. I want to talk about how good things are right now, but somebody else might be going through a low. So we found it hard to find things to relate to and find people to relate to. And I think that's our goal of starting this, is that hopefully that can be a resource for you, a resource that we didn't have or couldn't find, hopefully can now be available to you.
Yeah, a lot of things that we've done in our marriage, we've had to figure out on our own, like she said. And so, again, just kind of reinstating that this is for being able to connect. This channel is nothing about marriage advice. We're going to get into our story so you know a little bit more about us if you haven't seen us on our other channel, Stivers Homestead. But we just want to make sure that you have a place to release and connect. The goal is to watch this with your spouse. We definitely want you all to sit down together, listen to the stuff that we've been through, and hopefully open up conversations in your own home. Throughout the course of this channel, there will be one-on-ones from the husband's perspective. So you'll have certain times that are just with me. You'll have certain times with just Jen as the wife in the marriage and some of the things they've gone through. Those choose as you're picking to listen to on your own or listen together with your spouse. It's your choice. But we want to make sure that we offer all different scenarios that go onto a marriage, because as simple as life can be, marriage can be really complicated.
It can, or it can be really awesome.
That's right.
First and foremost, I think it's going to take me a little bit to get used to this, so just be patient. I'm just nervous, but I'm also really excited. It's just another part of being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, and that's something that we have done for 5 years, which we'll talk about in a minute, on our Stivers Homestead channel. But there's just, most of the stuff that's on there is specifically centered to a certain type of lifestyle. And while that is our lifestyle, that's also a very small part of our life. Feeding our animals, gardening, tending to the kids, homeschooling, cooking, all those things are things that we do every single day. But there is so much more to our day and so much more to us. But that channel hasn't always felt like a place that we can necessarily share that.
Correct.
So it's exciting, but it's also really nervous to kind of open up and do that and be that vulnerable.
Yeah, so let's formally introduce ourselves. So the hope is that everybody that's watching this isn't coming just from our other channel. We are reaching and finding some new folks out in this YouTube world. So my name is Zach Stivers.
I am Jennifer Stivers.
And we have been married 11 years come April 20th. That'll be our 11-year wedding anniversary. We got married, we started dating at 22, and we got married at 23. So we actually were married less than a year into dating. Everybody thought we were crazy. We actually were even pregnant, 6 months pregnant, when we got married. And so I think a lot of the outside eyes looked at us that we were just getting married because we were about to have a child. Mm-hmm. That was not the case for her and I. We didn't mind what everybody thought, and it was fine. I'm sure there was a lot of bets on this not working out because they had the premises that this was started too fast. It started wrong, and just, how people do. They always have their own assumptions on your relationship. And her and I, it was an interesting start. It was, we were both young. And the one thing you can expect from this channel is it's going to be brutally honestly.
Mm-hmm. That's another scary piece.
Right. So I am a college dropout. I definitely spent way too much time in college partying rather than into the books. It was part of it. I was released, and it was fun. It was a very expensive, fun trip. However, I do not regret that time. It has helped me within my career in a lot of ways. Just because I don't have a piece of paper, I did learn a lot throughout that time. Jen was actually in that school with me as well.
Yes, I was also a dropout.
Yeah.
Not because of partying and stuff. I just realized that it wasn't for me. It wasn't the life that I wanted. But at that time, we were two very different people, but also very similar people. We talk about all the time, or at least I do, about how I wish maybe we would have had a chance at that time. I don't know if it would have worked. Probably not, but I think we could have had a lot of fun together.
Yeah.
But we were both, in relationships and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think we both dropped out right around the same time.
Right around the same time, and moved back home, which is funny enough. We lived about a quarter mile from each other for most of our lives. Jen moved there. When did you move there?
When I was 8.
She was 8. So 8 years old. From 8 on, we lived a quarter mile away from each other, but never. We always had moments, kind of with friends at friends' houses and stuff. You could tell there was something there. A lot of people knew that there was something there. But like she mentioned, we were always in relationships, so it just never progressed. But I always tell her when she says, I wish we maybe could have kindled this in college. I always say, I think you would have hated me. Like, I kind of hated myself during that time. And I don't think it would have been great. However, to me, there's always a reason. I think we met at the appropriate time to when things was going to work out right.
Yeah.
Other things about us, I guess, before we get truly into our story, we do homestead. If you're not familiar with that term, we raise animals and gardens and all this different stuff for our family. So we're not full-blown farmers. We do have a lot of stuff that we do sell off the farm, but we're not commercial. So we don't have 1,000 head of cattle. We're not raising thousands of acres of gardens and corn and such like that. It is very much how to do it at your home to be just basically self-sustained. Make sure that you know how to can, preserve your food, have plenty of stocked pantries, wood-burning fireplace for your heat. Just having some of those security blankets in life that the world could throw you. That's what we do on our other channel. During the growth of that channel, however, from the feedback from our followers, a lot of the reasons that people followed us was because of our family dynamic. That was something that they responded well to. It seemed like something that maybe set us apart a little different than others. Because I don't want to say the term like we're not great teachers, but we're not. Like we're not great teachers. So we've never been how-to video people. It's been very much this is just what's going on in our life. But the one thing that her and I were talking about that really made us want to do this is I was like, what are our top priorities in life? Like when we want to talk about something and something that we're always going to be the most passionate about, what are those priorities? Number one is our marriage. Mm-hmm. We spend a lot of time focusing on our marriage and making sure that we're getting better every day. So in our opinion, marriage is our top priority.
Yeah. I know there's probably some people that would argue that maybe we even spend too much time on it.
Sure.
Maybe we do too much alone, or maybe we go on too many trips, just him and I, just solo, or maybe we spend, the majority of our time, even though our family's all together, just me and him. Like at night, it's always a priority. That's just always kind of been a thing that we've done. Mm-hmm. And while others might look at it as maybe we shouldn't, like maybe, we should focus more on other things or do things separately or apart, it's always worked for us. And I really couldn't picture it any other way.
Yeah, and the one thing that to kind of go off that too, we've set up kind of this routine with our life because our children are homeschooled. So we are together with our kids 24/7. There is not really a time that we're apart. Oh, also, I do content creation, our Stivers homestead business full time now. I no longer have a job that I leave the property for. So all four of us are literally together all day. Make your assumptions on if you like that or not, but that's just something that works for us. So the importance of her and I having time every night for just us was created because we are with the family all day. Mm-hmm. So I think some people are like, well, you make your kids stay inside and, at nighttime or whatever. Well, yeah, we're getting 2 to 3 hours a night where that's where we focus. And it's, if the kids need something, obviously they come out. Mm-hmm. But we do protect that time and they understand it as well.
Yeah. And obviously for those who are brand new to this channel, that's new, but people on our Stivers homestead channel wouldn't even know that because it's never something we've talked about, but it is every night. Mm-hmm. No exaggeration. Every single night we take to, and we'll usually do stuff with the kids after dinner, like VR or board games or
playing football outside.
Playing football or playing football inside. There's always something that we do with them, but when that's over and we have made sure that they are comfortable and happy and, you know, have had time with us and have had everything that they need, that's when him and I literally go outside and spend our evening together.
Yeah, and it's
every single night.
Every single night. And, you know, most nights there's usually a alcoholic beverage that's involved. This is more stuff, brutally honest with this. We like to have a couple drinks together. We like to listen to music. I can't explain to y'all how many important and strong conversations we've had on that porch together than any other time.
Yeah.
To me, sometimes we call it like the meeting room. Like we also have a hot tub too. And when it's real cold like it is right now, that'll be the meeting room. So we're going out there, we'll listen to music, we're in the hot tub. But man, we really break down some important conversations. And it's because there's no distractions. So don't get us wrong, we love some movies. We really like watching movies together. But I'm sure as you've noticed within your marriage, when you're watching movies, you're not talking, right? You're not having communication with your spouse. You're enjoying that time with them, but you're lost into the TV. So usually about 8 or 9 o'clock is when we turn that off and it's no more TV. Music's fine because you can't stare at it. But we're literally kind of stuck in this spot.
Yeah.
And there's been times where it's been kind of awkward. Like we'll look at each other like, I'm bored. Like what do we need
to talk about today?
Right.
We always come up with something.
Yes, we always do. And it's been a very crucial piece to our marriage. So note number one, I guess make sure every single night to be spending time with your spouse that's kind of undistracted, forcing yourself into a space.
Maybe not 2 hours. Maybe you can't get that much. But even if you sit down together face to face, no distractions, even knee to knee, face to face, give yourself 30 minutes to have a conversation. If you can't think of anything, then get on Google and look at questions.
Yep.
Look at spouse questions and start there and then see how it goes.
We've had several nights like that where it was like top 25 questions to ask your spouse. Or we'll play, there's some apps that you can do and stuff that are kind of like game playing and role playing and stuff that are a lot of fun to do. But don't be afraid, you know, to touch your spouse during those times. You know, when I'll come inside to use the restroom or to get another drink, like, it's just always like, I'll rub my hand across their shoulder as I go in. And physical touch is important for both of us.
Yeah.
We respond really well to physical touch. We're emotionally connected in that way. There's a lot of times that I feel like if we have maybe a wall coming up, it's usually because we haven't been like just touching each other. Yeah. That just seems to melt any walls that are usually popping up. So now you know a little bit about us and really why we want to do this channel. This is the very high level, just so you can kind of get to know us and see if what we're doing over here might even be a fit for your home. But we hope you do. We hope you like it. But now we want to deep dive a little bit more into the purpose of this video, which is sharing our story to hopefully strengthen yours.
Yes.
This isn't a marriage advice like I mentioned previous in this video. We are not in any expertise to give advice, but we do have a story. We do have a story to tell, and we've been through a lot of things that will hopefully strengthen yours if you come across some of these situations that we have. So getting back to kind of our love story, our marriage story. After we both dropped out of college, we lived back in our hometown in Kentucky, and we met up at a bar on accident. So I was going through this time span of being very single, contemplating all of my life choices. At the time, I worked at an AT&T store, and I was the store manager. Felt real good, but I was still living home with my mom and my stepdad, and I was going out a lot. Like, so we had some buddies over there. I would be going to bars with them. We'd be doing this stuff, and then one night, I actually wasn't going to go, but my friends talked me into it. And as soon as I step out on the porch, there's this one. The one you never see at the bar. Like if she did, she wasn't going to the bars I was going to. Let's say that. We definitely had a little bit of a different circle and a little bit of different interest on where we were headed to. But why were you there?
Oh, this is the part where I don't like sharing my side. I'd rather just keep it surface level. But I was in a relationship. Actually, technically, I wasn't. It had ended that day, I believe, if I remember right. I got broken up with, but it was just one of those things where it needed to be done many, many months ago, but it was just dragging on because you're a kid and why not? You know, you don't want to be lonely. So It had ended that day, and my friend that I was working with, she wanted to take me out, and I was like, obviously at first that's not my first thing, that my first choice, because I just didn't really like going to bars. I never wanted to meet a guy at a bar. Was never entertained by the thought of meeting a guy at a bar because that wasn't my type of guy previously. But I was like, hey, let's, try something new. Let's see where it goes. So she finally talked me into it. We actually did something before that. And then when it came time to go to the bar, I tried to back out again. And I was like, you know what? Let's just try it. Let's give it a go and see if at the very least, maybe I won't be at home crying alone in my bed,
Right,
maybe
sure.
I'll have a few laughs with someone. So yeah, I went, and I remember walking out to the stairs, and I think I was there first by myself. Your friend came
Yeah.
up and was talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he went in, you came out, and we were both surprised to see each other because we knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
And you said something along the lines of,
Where's your guy?
where's your boyfriend?
Yeah, where's your guy, fella at, boyfriend at, something like
I
that.
mean, you knew who I was dating.
Yeah. She was always dating someone. So just seeing her alone was a shock all in itself. And your response to me was, I think it was, I hate men or something like that. Like, yeah.
Because I had just been broken.
Right. And I was like, oh, so it's going well. And then
I could literally see his face light up when I said that, and he was like, so you're saying there's a chance?
right. I always call it Jen's window. Like if she's ever in between relationships, it's a very small window. Not because of anything like that. It's just she's always had. I think you've always had like tight friends that could always see them as your boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then so as like windows open, it was like here they come racing. They're coming in hot. But to be honest with you, as much as I was excited, it was more. The whole rest of that night, even though I felt like a romance connection, it was more of just those previous connections that we've had and other times. Like we just hit it off. Like we have a great time together.
Yeah.
And so we had a few drinks. We played a little pool, and then her and her friend went home. Like I mean, that was it. That was the whole night. I'd finished up the night with my friends, but I couldn't stop thinking about her the rest of the night. And I remember being at work that next morning. I was just like stalking her Facebook profile. Because I don't even think we exchanged numbers, did we?
No, we didn't. I actually reached out to you.
Yeah.
I think it was
Facebook
late that
Messenger.
night once I got home, and I was like, had a blast with you. And then at that point, I think you offered your number.
Yeah. And then here we go. So it was a wild summer because it was right before summer when we met.
Yeah.
Because Memorial Day was a big one. Memorial Day was our first big trip together. We went camping, and I didn't think she was going to do it. I really didn't think that she was going to come. And then while my stepdad and I were on the way to the campground to set up, she said, I'm coming. She's like, I'm bringing my dog too, though. I was like,
Ellie.
I don't care. You're coming. That's shocking all in itself. I did not see this happening. And then, yeah, that kind of wrote the history. I think if that weekend didn't happen, there was obviously a few more things that we had to get over before we were fully committed to each other, but that was a big
Yeah, well, because, I mean, got broken up with that day, immediately was interested in him, started talking because of, like, the way that shouldn't have progressed that way. Obviously, you should give yourself more time, but I never did that for myself. Because of that, there was a lot of back and forth that happened over the next few months, and that was all my fault, but I don't know, I think it made it even stronger.
Yeah, I agree, because it for one, at least on my side, it proved to me how much I care for her. It wasn't just another girl that all this other stuff's happening. And I'm like, well, I just need to move on. Like red flags are like going nuts. For her, like, I mean, it was, I'll wait. Like I'll do whatever you need me to do to make this a reality, because it's just, I've never felt this way from someone. And then, so fast forwarding that just a little bit, once we did become 100% exclusive, we were committed. Everybody knew that it was now Zach and Jen, and we were all together and everything was fine. I think it took us about 2 months to get pregnant. She had openly told me how much she wanted to homestead, how much she wanted to be a stay-at-home mother, and how these were some of her life passions that she had. And she basically looked at me and said, if you're not okay with it, she was trying to do everything to run me away. Like, she was being so blatantly honest and blunt I think part of her was like, there's no way that he'll take this. So that'll push him away. And I just remember like, okay. Like anything you want. Like, okay.
Yeah. And I'm full transparent. That was because we did go to college together and I saw the way that he was. He was in a fraternity. He went to a lot of bars. It just wasn't my thing. He scared me in a way that I didn't want to be that vulnerable. Like I knew from the second that we talked that night at the bar that if this was going to progress, then my entire heart was going to be open. And I don't like to do that. Not at all, especially, not when I was younger. But also the thought of knowing who he was in the past just really, really scared me.
Yeah. And I mean, rightfully so. You knew the party inside of me. You saw me in college. Then you meet me at a bar. And then even after that, like I still had some of those party-esque, I guess, attributes that were still showing, even at the early stages of our relationship. And so I totally understood what she was saying, and I think that was one of our biggest compromises. I think right there, and that was the partying lifestyle. I definitely slowed down, and she picked up a little. You know what I mean?
I had to.
Right. Well, but you understand what I'm saying. Like I didn't sacrifice because I wanted to change my life anyways, but I slowed down some. But I think because of that,
we met.
Right. She saw the fun that could be had in a more responsible way of partying. And that's where we evened each other out.
Yeah. And just me and him having fun and not always having to be around, 25 other people.
And that's when the porches started. We had got our little duplex together and we would sit on the little stoop out front. She'd have her glass of wine, I'd have me a beer. And that's, literally since then. Yeah. Since our first place, our first year together, it's been porches ever since. We are big porch people. Get pregnant. Everybody thinks it was a mistake. We knew it was going 100% on purpose. We were trying. We were madly in love. And then we get married in 2013. And then from there, it's been a wild world of life. Jen and I, we talk about phases in a marriage. And, you have the dating phase. Some people's are longer than others. Ours was very short because we had that very short time of
the honeymoon phase.
The honeymoon phase, yes, correct. Because we got married in April. Wyatt, our firstborn son, was born in July. So between
a different year. No,
same year. Yeah. So on April 2013, we get married. July 2013, we're newlyweds and also first-time parents. Yep. And so that's when you turn into the rocking years phases, the baby years, the newborn years. And that is one of the biggest struggles, I think, of a marriage, and people have no idea it's happening. Because you're so focused on raising your children that you start forgetting about your marriage. You start forgetting about each other because you're so focused on just making sure you don't kill these babies. You're just trying to make them survive and healthy and do parenting right. And it's just, that's where your focus is 100% on.
Well, you lose yourself first. I lost myself. He probably lost himself. And then because of that, we lost each other a lot of the time. Yeah, it's absolutely correct. I know I was in the worst health that I've ever been during that time. I was eating a lot. It was chaos. It was crazy. Sorry for the cut. We have a bunch of snow and we have a chicken that doesn't know how to walk in it. And so it was sitting over here by our little kitchen garden and our dog was just barking like crazy at him. Trying to protect her gardens. We can appreciate it. Okay, so we were talking about the rocking years or the baby years, the newborn years, whatever you want to call it. So during this time, we're losing ourselves. We're having some family dynamics that we're trying to figure out. We're a new family, trying to adjust to having our family be a part of our new family, but also trying to have our independence. Tough. It
was very tough.
To me, I think those were the toughest years.
I would agree. And then to make matters even more spicy, we get shipped off to North Carolina for my work. Because at the time I was currently working for a contract company in the kind of, technology field. So they sent us to North Carolina where we got to spend 9 months there. There was that, as tough as it was, I think was one of the many saving graces of our marriage. Because we got away from family. It allowed us as a group of 4, because at this time we now have a second child. There was a second child, Raylan. Poor second children.
And I don't want the way you just said that. We got away from family. It sounds so bad because it sounds bad, but that's not what we mean. It was just instead of saying we got away from family, we got the opportunity to just figure out this new life that we had just started.
Much better ways.
Without other influences.
Yes.
And honestly, a lot of that for you was not even your immediate family. It was just all the other people that came with your family. He had so many people in his family, and it was so overwhelming.
Yeah, there was a lot. And so my phone, stayed busy a lot. Loving family. It's kind of like I always make the comparison. When you were in school and you always wondered, like, do the teachers talk? Like, do they know how much homework they're giving us?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Do they communicate with each other?
Are they communicating with how much they're giving one student in a day? Because I don't know how school is today, but like back in my day, it was like you had like hours of homework from each teacher, and it was always confusing. So that's my comparison to my large family. It's like I know the large family isn't communicating together with how much like they're bringing to Zach, and it's fine, but it was just a lot, and so that hurt. I don't want to say hurt, but that definitely buckets.
Yeah,
right.
But it hindered the growth. Of our marriage, being new parents.
Yes. So we're in North Carolina now. We are thankful that Jen does have some family. I mean, talk about random and how this worked out beautifully. But she did have a cousin that lived right in the town that we were moving to. Which was great. It was so nice to have a family there that we knew and trusted. And I mean, him and I are like almost more family than her. Like, I mean, we got really tight during that time, but that's not specifically what we're talking about here. During that time, we had to figure things out, right? There was nobody that we could run to.
Yeah.
It was her and I. And it's kind of like I was talking about with the porch and no TV. Like, we were stuck looking at each other. We had to make some hard decisions. I was making what I thought really good money. I was making over $80,000 a year, but North Carolina is really expensive.
We could barely pay our mortgage.
Yeah,
Or rent.
Yeah. Our house rent, which we loved our house. It was a beautiful little house, but I think it was like $1,800 a month or something like that. I mean, to the moments to where we're cutting internet off. Like, we didn't have internet in the house. We didn't have cable in the house. We were having to make all these cuts. And that was something important for me to realize too, is like, you're making really good money, but you're supporting the whole family. Like, there's no other salaries that are coming in. So like, if I'm making 80 and say she was making 30, that's great. Like, that would have been awesome, but it was just the 80. So it was kind of a hard realization. I'm over here in my career thinking like, I am 20, what were we, like 24, 25 at this time?
25, I think.
I'm making $80,000 a year. It's looking like we're going to be on the right path for success. But I'm broke. Like, I feel so broke. And so that was a time that I think that we learned about money will never be an issue between us.
Yes.
I can say that we've had many fights and many arguments, but money has never been one of them. We've been as broke can be. And we've been on a very high to where it felt like we could have anything we wanted. Right now, we're kind of in between. We're still doing great, but since I've left my job, it's not double, right? It's not the business and this. But long story short, with North Carolina, it definitely made us figure out who we are as parents, who we are as husband and wife, and it definitely grew our bond stronger.
Yes. So after that 9 months, we decided to go back to Frankfurt, basically back to where it all was. We decided to build a pole barn up on the back of his mom and stepdad's property, which was also right down the road from my mom. And obviously it was the best decision we ever made, because that's why we are where we are now. But it felt like we just kind of threw ourselves back into the same situation. And it felt like, because it was only 9 months, everything that we learned during that 9 months, and how we became independent and became new parents, and it felt like it just all went away because we were back in our safety zone and our comfort with all of our family. And then I think that's like where the second worst of the time started.
Right. So we're still in our baby years. There's still things that are happening. I would say we started figuring the family piece out as the years went on. We were so focused on living semi-off grid. I mean, we had compost toilets. We had just wood burning stove for heat. We were very busy. So the family stuff, it was like, that's when I learned to start saying no, because we had so much to do. I was working in Louisville every day, and then making sure there was enough wood cut, make sure the toilets weren't full. Just all these little things. There's just a lot going on. So we figure out as best we can, the
Yeah.
family dynamic. And we have that starts turning good, very good. Jen had always told me she wanted a big family. That was also one of those big, upfront, blunt things that she told me. And I always thought that I was fine with. I would, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I would like to say that we have fulfilled all of her dreams, but that one. But the big family. Like when you was giving me all those, basically just demands at the beginning, that's the one that was missing. So Jen approached me about having a third child. And at the time, I was hesitant, and we'll get in more detail on this on future videos. We're giving you the whole story, and then we'll deep dive into these later. I basically just pushed her off until it hit a head. Mm-hmm. So I would make the excuses like, we don't have any running water up here. Mm-hmm.
Which is a great excuse.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
right.
a very legit reason.
My mom lived down there. We had a 50-gallon drum that we had in our house, and we had water hoses straight from her house. So we'd fill up this 50-gallon drum, and that was kind of the water that we had. It was crazy. It was wild. It was a lot of fun, though. But anyways, that was my excuse, and she was right there for it. But I knew there was more behind me than just we don't have water. Mm-hmm. So time progresses. Yeah. We get running water. She brings it up again, and I'm like, oh, I think I lied. Right, I think I had forgot about like the whole situation. I just wanted running water. Yeah. And that was that wasn't the first. We'll have to deep dive into those before, but that was our next really big argument to where it felt like this might not make it. Yeah.
But we got through it. Like he said, we'll deep dive at a later time, but we got through that, and I don't know, how many years has it been since then? 4 or 5?
It's been over 5. Because we started YouTube 5 years ago, almost to the day. And that was kind of what pulled us out of that slump.
Yeah. So 5 years later, we're in a completely different situation in life. And I am so thankful that he made that decision. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that he held strong, even though it meant that it might break our marriage, because I almost left him over it. But, we've talked about it before personally, that our marriage might have ended anyway if we did have a third child. So it was like this outcome of, well, she might leave me. Well, we're going to probably head for divorce anyway if we venture down the road of having another child with the unstableness in our marriage.
Yes.
So I'm thankful that it didn't happen. Obviously, a baby is always a blessing anytime, but I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that he made that decision, as hard as it was.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. To me, it felt like we were trying to, the whole concept of the third baby was to like try to rekindle our love and try to rekindle a relationship. And
common.
Right, very common. And neither one of us she didn't at the time, but she came to it. Like, we both knew that was the wrong decision to bring a baby into this world. It's one of those things of timing. Like she said, right now we're very thankful that we do the two that we have, and we don't want any more. That we don't want any more. But we did try again once we got here to this property, and then things didn't work out.
No, and I think that was all for a reason.
Right, exactly.
I just think it's the way that it was supposed to be.
Yeah. So we get pulled out of this slump. Like once, I think, we're talking a long slump, y'all. Yeah. Like many nights not speaking a word to each other, which is completely against everything that we believe. It was scary. Like I really thought this one was going to do it. And then her mom started talking about homesteading and these YouTube channels that she was watching, because we're just trying to get back to life. People can see it on our face, but we're at least speaking about other things to other people around each other. And so she started talking about YouTube and these homesteaders she's watching, and was like, y'all should do it. Yeah.
A new hobby that you can embrace yourself in together.
Right. And we were already kind of doing it. Like we had chickens at the time, but that was it. We had chickens, garden, and then we were living semi-off-grid. Compost toilets, hauling water. We had electric. That's why I say semi, because we did have running electric, but that was it. She's like, you're probably doing more than what these other people are actually even doing anyways. And so we talked about it and decided to do it. We decided to start shooting videos 5 years ago, almost to the day, on our other channel, the Stivers Homestead. We just talked about our life. We talked about everything.
I think that was like the last saving piece that we've had. because we were in front of a camera, and even on the days when him and I didn't feel like communicating, we knew that people were counting on it. You know, they were counting on a video. They were counting on our laughter and our smiles and our stories to inspire their lives and give them a better day. So sometimes it would force it out of us. And then, you know, before we know it, we're feeling madly in love again, and we're having a good night, and we're laughing and communicating and talking. And there were so many days and, you know, years now where this lifestyle that we chose did save our marriage and continues to.
I completely agree. We've been forced to do so much together that we have had so many beautiful moments in those times that have just strengthened our relationship. But if it wasn't for a common interest, a common hobby, you know, per se, to pull us out of that. And kind of what I'm meaning by it is like when she's talking about like we're laughing on camera, like that was all real. Like nothing was scripted, but like we were going into that video not feeling probably the hottest, and then just whatever we were doing was making each other laugh. And so it was the progression. Or when a goat is given birth and like you're both in the throes of it, and it's a difficult birth or complicated, and you're working together as a team, and the next thing you know, hopefully you save the baby and the mama. Like, I don't, and this is, I'm giving y'all a little taste here. I didn't think I could be so attracted to my wife covered in chicken shit and goat poop. Like, I mean, you know, and birthing liquids all over me. And then like her and I look at each other and like, I just want to kiss you. Like, can we go back to the house? Oh my goodness. I mean, it's crazy. It's such bonding experiences on some of the things that we've done this far.
I'd also like to add too, like reading the comments in those years, especially in the videos where we might not have been jiving before the video started. And then we get on these comments and people are, you know, they're telling us we're a beautiful couple. We look so happy together. We make each other laugh and smile. And then to even far to say that we're inspiring them to, you know, spend time with their husband or get their husband involved in their daily homesteading stuff. That stuff also helped save us. Because we didn't always have people that we could, well, really, we never, I'll say that in a different, okay, we've always had family that we could reach out to. However, I don't think that you should reach out to family when it comes to marital problems.
Absolutely agree.
You don't want a biased opinion, and you don't want to spread your dirty laundry to, you know, everyone that you're close to. So with that saying, we never really had outside other people to talk to.
Non-biased opinions from outside sources.
You know, our friends, most of the time, they weren't even married yet, or they weren't even in relationships. They didn't have kids, so it wasn't a source that we could reach out to. So having that, and you know, people recognize and give us all the compliments and reassurance and validation was incredible.
It really was. And then so the progression just kept going. And I would say like we were probably at the top, like cloud 9, when we were 2 years into YouTube. The homestead's growing, we're growing, our children are growing. The house is finally improving. You know, it was just one of those battles of like the house will never be done. But we were finally starting to make progress because we finally had a little money to be able to do some things. And then my stepdad died, like just out of nowhere. We were actually on our way to a YouTube homestead event in Michigan. We were there. We were getting ready to head out to go to the event. And that's when I got the call that my stepdad, my dad is alive, my blood dad. We have a great relationship. I basically called both my dad's dad because my stepdad, Gary, was around me since I was 3 years old. And we had a very, very tight bond. So I'm thankful enough to have 2 dads. So like if I say stepdad sometimes and I say dad, like don't get it confused. It's my real living dad is still alive. Anyways, he passed away with just a sudden heart attack. They were actually on their way to just go do some side-by-side riding. He had to pull over, and literally in a gas station parking lot, he passed away. And so that was a huge life-changing event that none of us saw coming. But it changed us in many ways. It changed, obviously, my mother is now a widow. But even outside of that, we all now live on a property together that we all can't afford together. And so that was tough. When he died, there was no life insurance. There was none of that. And my mom was kind of left like, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. And we lived on the property too. It was the same sliver.
Yeah. So, we took a year to figure it out and decide, but eventually that's why we are where we are now. We're here. And we've tried like different situations. My parents live about an hour from us, which is amazing. They moved as well. We've tried different combos with like his mom. She was somewhere else. Then she was here. Now she's not here. We've tried a combination of all different things. And I think we're at a good point now. We figured out, how we can work and how everything can just be okay again. Okay for her, okay for us. And then how do we get ourselves into a situation to where we're thriving again?
Yeah. And that is where we are today.
Yeah.
Today we are thriving. And I am going to hold that piece for another video because it will be a little racy. Marriage, sex is involved in marriage. And it's important to say the word sex and not feel uncomfortable about that. And definitely not feel uncomfortable about that with your spouse. Mm-hmm. Like if sex and your husband and your wife is a weird or awkward conversation, that we need to talk about that. Like we need to have some conversations on how we can change that. Next video, different video. But we are definitely, in my opinion, one, thriving in a marriage more than like we ever have before. But two, we're both feeling a different level of vulnerability that we haven't felt in the past. And maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
It's a whole different connection as well. It's about a year ago, we started to do different things together. We started to travel. Mm-hmm. We started to explore the world, not just with each other, with our kids as well. But we just opened ourselves to new experiences and, trying new things. And that just kind of snowballed this whole new relationship, this whole new marriage, but also like this whole new dating life. Mm-hmm. It feels like we're dating 99% of the days, but we're also married. So it's like keeping that balance.
Right.
It's wild, but yeah, it's been a really fun adventure to just start. And I feel like almost 11 years in, and I know everybody says this, like you love each other more every day and, you're stronger than ever and all that stuff. But I feel like I truly like know him in a way that I never had. Like I didn't really take the time to know him. And I think there was times when he didn't take the time to know me either. It's just, we kind of meshed and made it what it was, but never really explored like the deeper levels of each other.
And that's what we call the new phase. We are now dating again. It's now the dating phase because we technically didn't get that.
Yeah.
So our children are now 8 and 10. They're on their way to 9 and 11.
Pretty self-sufficient.
On their way to 25 and 36. They can do everything they need to do and like feed themselves so that they can do those things. They know how to cook ramen noodles if they need to or whatever it is. We've left with Wyatt still here, it's these
10 now.
Yeah, it's these new things that we're learning because like we don't have babies no more. Mm-hmm. The baby phase is over.
Yeah.
We did pull a tooth yesterday, which was weird.
We're not just keeping alive at this point. It's fun with them and it's exciting and it's helping them grow now into who they're going to be, but not just solely having to keep them alive.
Right. So with their ages that they are, we're able to date a little more. Mm-hmm. We're able to get back into the reason we fell in love in the first place, but we didn't give ourselves enough time to learn everything about each other. Yeah. Because we've been lost in baby phase. And it's, what did you do today? Well, Raylan ripped a diaper open, we had to clean that up. Right? That was the conversations. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, what really drives you? Who are you? And like, who do you want to be? We have fulfilled this life. Like, do you want to keep doing it? Is there something new? Like these type of conversations are what we're now able to have instead of just like, well, nobody broke anything. Everybody's alive.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
And I'd like to add too, like, I know most people with 8 and 10-year-olds aren't in that position because you're dealing with school and activities and sports and you're running here and there. Our lives aren't like that.
Right.
We chose very early on to have our lives not be like that.
Yeah.
We just don't feed into the hustle and bustle of all that. We choose our experiences. We travel, and that's what keeps us busy.
Right.
It's not the outside of things. So I know most people with 8 and 10-year-olds still feel like they're in the throes of it, and it's still difficult, and you aren't at a level of being able to connect with each other again yet. But I would encourage you to try to change that.
Right. Use the fun ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, maybe this is something that you can have a conversation with your spouse. if you do have your children, and if they are in 4 sports at one time, this is blunt, and this is what I'm saying, but they don't get everything.
Yeah.
Right? So, like our kids, if they want to do sports stuff, that's fine, but they get one each to focus on. And so then that's one set of practices and one set of games, such like that, instead of, okay, well, we have 3 of them going here, we have one going here, and like we're having to get like outside people to get kids to these sporting events. Choose your spouse.
Choose your marriage.
Right. Have a healthy balance with your kids as well. And in my opinion, if they can also focus on one thing, they're going to be better at that one thing than focusing on 4 or 5 different things they got going on. So have those hard conversations with your children and everybody as a family. Like, listen, we're all kind of got one thing we're focusing on here. We're not going to have a bunch of stuff to where we're all just too thin.
Yeah.
And I think I just wanted to kind of add that on because I didn't want to imply like our kids don't get to do nothing. That's not the case.
They do everything.
They do everything, but if they do have interest, they get to pick one that would be like a sporting event or something.
Kids and marriage and parenting in life is hard, but you don't have to let it suck the joy out of you. You don't have to let it take so much room between you and your spouse to where you can't even connect once a day.
Right. To where,
if that is the situation, something has to change.
Yeah, if you're seeing your spouse for the first time when y'all are going to bed, or maybe the other one's already asleep, like, we need to change something, right? Like that. That's not a healthy marriage. That's giving too much. You're giving too much out. So yeah, these are all things that we'll talk about, throughout this channel. This one was a little bit longer, but we really wanted to make sure that you heard our story. So we don't take this lightly. Like if we're going to talk to somebody that we trust and want to hear like their marriage experiences, like we want to know, like, is it similar to ours? Is it something that we can connect to? So we really wanted you to understand it all. We wanted to give the details of everything that we have. And then future videos will be much more precise. Like we'll specifically talk about like this threshold we're in right now. Or we'll specifically talk in detail about the issues that we had when we were having babies. The divorce talks, the different stuff like that. But also the joy. A lot of the joy, talking about vacationing, talking about how that works, how she convinced me to stop being a homebody. All this stuff is going to be coming to this channel.
How to date your spouse again.
Yes.
Ideas, some of the things that we do every single night to spark conversation and love and connection and just being an inspiration to, hopefully there's something that you can just take home and be like, hey, hubby, let's just give it a go. Let's try it. See where it takes us. Yeah,
because that's another thing that I've learned is about open-mindedness. I have been so much more open-minded, I would say, in the last couple months than I've ever been.
Yeah.
But it has unlocked so many new doors that have been awesome. Pretty amazing. But you all, we hope you enjoyed. Anything else that you would like to add?
Should have put this at the beginning. Might still figure out a way to do that, but this is going to be like adult conversations. Our Stivers Homestead channel is, for the most part, family friendly.
Yeah.
There's been some moments, but this one is not. This is specifically for married, single, whatever, adults.
Right.
Just not children, because children don't need to understand, or once you hear something, you can't go back from it.
Right, and we don't know the level that your children know too. Like we're very honest and open with our children, but obviously there's things that we still don't allow them. Like they're not down here right now. So that's just your warning. Now that you said I'm glad you did, I threw you up a big black screen at the beginning of this with the warning. That'll be on every video. We'll have that on every video so you know it's there, and that it's time. This is mommy daddy time. Maybe we can be your porch time for a little bit. But that's it, you all. Please hit that subscribe button. This is a brand new channel. There's no money being made on this at all at this time. We just want to make a safe space for people to be able to just really learn and sharing our story to strengthen yours.
There you go. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Still nervous, but it'll be good.
Yeah, and the future stuff too. Like we're still married, so there's gonna be new stuff that pops up as well that we don't even know about just yet. But I promise we're done talking. This was a long one. We love you all. If you're new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button.
Yep. We'll see you next time.
Ooh, not until the next one. New ending. See ya.
Bye.